morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
You're doing good.
I'm fine too.
You're fine?
Yes.
I'm also fine and I'm glad to be here today. So thank you for coming to this day. So we're going to discuss about our finding, about the field log, about the field research we did, and about our menus. So before we start that, let us discuss about anthropological terms to make sure that we all have the same understanding of these terms. So we can start by Jean Didier telling us some anthropological terms that he learned and the meaning of them.
Thank you, Didier and Patrick. I'm very happy also to be here to discuss about this project. I'm going to talk about two anthropology terms. It is ethnocentrism and symbol. So you can ask yourself, what is ethnocentrism and what is a symbol? Let me start by talking about ethnocentrism. So ethnocentrism is a term used by anthropologists to mean that a culture is considered like to be super than the other, superiority among cultures. Like I can think, we Rwandans, we have our culture is better than American culture. This is an example which I think you understand very well. So, let me allow me to go to symbol. Symbol is somehow interesting. It is also a term used by anthropologists to mean symbol mean it is a material or object that have meaning according to people who use it. I can give you an example. Here in Rwanda we have drum. You know drum?
Yeah.
Yes. Drum is considered like kingdom. You understand how?
Yeah, it's a symbol of kingdom.
Yeah, it's a symbol of kingdom. This is how symbol works. This is what symbol means by anthropologists. I think maybe you may have some question, but this is how symbol is and how ethnocentrism means.
I think that's great and that's a good explanation of anthropological terms. So let us turn to Patrick for his terms.
Okay, thank you, Jean Didier, for sharing with us those anthropological terms. And thank you, Didier, for giving this time. Me too, I'm going to share with you these two examples of anthropological terms, which are literature and enculturation. So you may ask yourself, what about those terms? Firstly, enculturation is the way how people or someone can study a culture, a particular culture, maybe his own culture or another or a foreigner culture. For example, if an American comes in here in Rwanda, he can start studying about our culture. That is term enculturation. Then let's go on literature. Literature is something, an event which is repetitive in a culture at a given time and specific period. For example, you may ask yourself which kind of ritual that I can understand. For example, in Hindu culture, the wedding ceremony there, they take like 7 days preparing for their wedding, and it's repetitive and being doing the same length of time. That is another example of ritual. Thank you.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I think I get the point. That's true.
Yeah.
You give a good explanation.
Maybe we may hear also from Didier and sharing with us another anthropological term.
Yeah, the remaining anthropological terms are cultural relativity. So cultural relativity means it's when we as anthropologists analyze someone's culture according to his own perspective. So when you go somewhere as an anthropologist studying someone's culture, you don't refer back to your culture to study to judge it, but you judge it or you analyze it depending on that culture. For example, if I go to India to study about Indian culture, so I'm going to put myself in shoes of Indians and judge them and analyze that culture as an Indian. without let's say something that is being done in India, like let's say they don't eat cows, they don't eat cows. So that's something that they do. I will not judge them and try to say that this is not a bad culture, this is not a good culture. Referring back to my country, because in my country the cow is something that has value and we even eat it as a meat, so I can't do it. So that is cultural relativity, is analyzing someone's culture in his own perspective or her own perspective.
Right.
So the remaining term is called subculture. Subculture is like a group of people who have this common ancestor, who speak the common language and who have the common identity, but they live in a society which is different from them. So their culture, their language and their ancestor are different from the ancestor and the identity of the people they live with. So we can take an example of DRC and Tanzania. So there are many tribes where you'll find people have the same ancestor and speak the same language, but the community around them or the society around them is not having the same things about them. So that's I think that is subculture.
Okay. Thank you, Didier. If, I don't understand. Means subculture that in society we may have same center, have some common culture, but we have some also culture that are not common. Yes. Can you say like you in the DRC there are some phrases that some occasions where people say Lingala, when the others say speak in Swahili. Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
They have the same they speak different languages, they have different ancestors, and they also have different rituals.
Yes.
Like you find people in the north and the south, they have really different ancestors, different language, and also they have rituals that are different, and things that they do day to day, things they value are very different. So it's a subculture, but they also have like a common general thing where they are all together in the same country, but they are different.
Yes. That's a great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I think we are all clear on anthropological terms, which we are now. We are very clear. So you can allow me to talk about my field research?
Yeah.
That's kind of English.
Thank you. So I want to tell you, share with you what I discovered, what I have seen in my field research. But first, before I tell you, sure, I want to tell you that it's very interesting. I did the research on Ikigaje. Ikigaje is a food that is made here in Rwanda, and it is made in sorghum, from and water, and they put in some catalyst that make it very sweet. Ikigaje is a food that is really known in Rwanda, and it is commonly used in in wedding and other ceremonies. Also in Rwandan culture, it was taken like the first food that must be the first one. That must be the first one that every Rwandan must have first and have other stuffs after. In the field that I did, I visited the family to contact the research. The family was there was like a woman, parents, and there was a man and a woman and 3 children. The woman they were together. They were trying to prepare that kind of kigaje, and what I have seen there is that there were some activities that were to be done by women and other activities that man was supposed to do. It means the activities that women do and activities that men do. Yes. What I have seen also that in the family, the woman was very interesting to prepare that kind of a kigaje. She used to take some porridge and give to those children I told you. And he take also porridge and give to his husband, and it was like they really very happiness. They really one. Uh, I, really, what I have seen in when they were preparing Tigani, they really very happiness. They, the fact that they very happiness is that they used, they were preparing that Tigani to be used for the following day, where they planned to invite people together, so they can share that Kigaji among them and have something like fun, uh, showing the achievement. It was really something showing that they really very happiness. So another thing that I have seen is that they prepare Kigaji for two reasons. So the reason number one is that they prepare Kigaji to be used in a ceremony and like a wedding and the other events where people come together and celebrate. This is something that I have noticed. Another thing that Ikigaji is used, Ikigaji is used as a source of money. You know, they prepare Ikigaji so people come and they buy, they give money, they receive money. So it is used at the market to get money to use for other stuff. This is what I have seen, and I was very happy to know everything about Ikigaji and talk to old people to know many things. I was very happy with that. Thank you very much. So maybe you may have some questions. Yeah, you know I'm ready. Yeah, I can answer.
That was a great research. But what do you think about it?
Me too. I was amazed to listen about that, and it was very interesting. But I don't know how. Did you do a research about how they prepare the ichigai? So in order to get something clear for us.
Well, that's something I didn't talk much about, but I also did that research. The process they use to prepare kigaje, they first heat the water, and once the water is heated at the 100 degrees Celsius, the water was mixed with sorghum flour, and they began to mix them quickly. They mixed them quickly, like it was like 20 minutes doing that activity, and once the activity was ready, they take cold water. They put in cold water in what they mix it, and there the porridge was okay. It was ready. The porridge from that mixing, and after they took that all those mixed things, they put in a pot, a big pot. Yeah, they put in a big pot, and they cover the pot with cloths. But there were cloths that were not being used to start like some kind like so avoiding coldness. They want the pot to be in safe environment and be hot also without coldness there. And they covered that, and in the morning, the ichigaje was ready to be taken.
It means that take 1 day to be prepared, and then
Yeah,
they can drink.
Absolutely. That's true because it will take like it's not 1 day, but it take a half day. Yeah.
My question also, I'm wondering what techniques did you use to get the information? Did you use interviews? Did you use observation? What techniques did you use?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. It's interesting. So I found if I use only interview, there were some information I cannot take. But what I did, I used interview and observation together. So there were some like looking what the woman was doing to help, and what the man was doing at that time. It was observation, but also knowing how they are preparing that. I used some kind of interview on or how they take ikigaje. I used the interview to know the answer for that question. Yeah, I used both.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that was a great field research. So I think now we understood what you did and what you're working on.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing with us. I think it's time to move to listen to what Patrick learned. So then we'll come back to the field menu later, but let's hear from what Patrick has to say about his field research.
Okay, thank you, Jean-Didier, for sharing your words, and it was a very, very interesting field research done. And thank you, Didier, for giving me this time. And it is my time too. I have done a field research about a food in Rwanda we called chakara. And you can, sometimes it's first time you listen to that one, but it's amazing food. I done my field research in one of the South province in Rwanda. It was my grandmother home, and I went there, and they was preparing the chakara. During my field research, I found that in order to prepare the chakara, you have first to have boiled water at high temperature, and then to have sorghum flour. After that time, I found that the chakara is a valuable food for their family, because as I interviewed them, they told me that they usually or mostly eat the chakara because it doesn't cost much money, so for low cost. Another one replied that is what their ancestors used to eat. For that time, I recognized that that family valuing the ancestors, and they also valued unity, because after preparing the chakara, they invite their neighbors and come sharing food. And at the end of my research, I was amazed about how the people were confident for their food. They also think that their food is the best one. As an anthropologist, I discovered that how they use ethnocentricity in their preparing of their food. Because they told me that chakara is the best food. There is no food which can be over chakara. And it was amazing at that time. So I think it's that I got from my research. If you have any question or any suggestion, you may ask.
Okay, my first question is there any other thing that the chakara is being prepared for?
Yeah. As I said, it's also prepared for using in their rituals. Like during wedding ceremony, they use the chakara, and the specialty ritual of naming child. When they are naming child, they usually use the chakara as main food during that event. Means they very, very much chakara. That's also another answer.
Yeah, how long does it take to prepare chakara?
To prepare the chakara, it's not more than 1 hour. For example, because I didn't ask them what I was served during preparing them. They boil water. After boiling water, they mix the sorghum flour with the boiled water, and then after like 40 minutes, the food is ready to be eaten.
So have you tested? How does it taste?
That's a great question. Because also after understanding how they value it, it was attracted me to test it in order to know if also have anything different. And for me also, it was very, 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 very suitable food that I ever tasted in my life.
Yes, I know. You know, so I ate. I have eaten that thing one day.
Is it delicious?
Yeah, it's very delicious. Once it's prepared very well, and I took it with milk. I mixed them, and it was somehow.
Hopefully, I'm gonna take it. Hopefully.
You were invited also to visit my grandmother. Maybe you will eat it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for sharing your voice all over you, all Didier and me. So now I think it's time for our friend Didier also may tell us about your field research. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for sharing with us. So me too. I did a field research, and I did a field research in Rwandan rural area at my uncle's house. So I went there to see how cassava leaves is prepared and how it is consumed. So to make sure I have the right information about that, I used observation and interview to make sure I have the data. So you can ask yourself, what did I find in my field research? But when I conducted my field research, I find that this family, my uncle's family, they value family satisfaction. So the person who was preparing the food, I mean the mother of that family who was preparing the food, so she valued family satisfaction. You can ask yourself, well, how does he value family satisfaction? When I asked her, why do you prefer preparing cassava leaves? She said that cassava leaves can be consumed or can be prepared with many other foods. She said you can combine it with rice, you can combine it with maize flour, you can combine it with yeah, many other type of food, and you can put cassava leaves on food and eat it. That shows that she value family satisfaction. I also learned that in Rwandan culture, there are some food that housemate or house server cannot prepare in the family. So that woman told me that her housemate cannot prepare cassava leaves because he does not have experience in preparing it. She is the only one that has that experience in the family to prepare cassava leaves. So you see how they value different things, and there are things that cannot be done by everyone.
Yes.
So, but when doing that, the housemate was helping her, bringing water, bringing things, and even pounding cassava leaves. So in that family, they don't eat cassava leaves like from machines. There are machines that are used to pound cassava leaves. But in that family, they told me that in their culture, they don't do it. In my uncle's family, they don't eat cassava leaves from machines. They pound it using traditional made Rwandan materials. So you see how it's also something that they value. They value their tradition. So I also learned that when after preparing cassava leaves, as something that I've realized from your field research too, they share it with others, with neighbors. So they have neighbors there. They can, because it's very valuable. They bring some piece of cassava leaves and bring it to the family as a sign of unity and collaboration to share it with others. So that's something that I learned from that field research, and I was very happy making that research because it was my first research as an anthropologist. So yeah, so preparing that food, preparing cassava leaves, it takes like 1 hour and a half preparing cassava leaves because it involves pounding it. Yeah, and like that's what I got from my field research. I think it was a great research for me, and I got what I really wanted to know. Yeah. And if you have any question, this is your time to ask me a question about that, so that we can share knowledge about that.
Okay, thank you. My first question is, you said they didn't use a machine.
Yeah.
Why?
So they said that cassava leaves from machine are not delicious. It's not good. Like it is very pounded, and they want cassava leaves to have some sticks inside them so that it can be easy to consume. But when it is used in a machine, it pounds it very, very much, and it is like flour. It's like, yeah, it is that much pounded. So they don't like it because of that, and they want from my tradition, even the smell, they talk that even the smell from the machine is not good, but when it is made from Rwandan traditional machine, it's okay for them to consume it. So it is like from the ancient time in Rwanda, we used traditional materials to pound our cassava leaves. So now they still rely on that tradition, on that ancient time, they still do it. They don't use this coming new updated technology to pound cassava leaves.
Yeah, me too. I was happy to listen how they value their food and how they don't use modern. It means they conserve their culture. But I have a question about: is there any other reason that make them to eat that kind of food?
Yes. Maybe I slipped it a little bit, but they consume cassava leaves for many reasons. The first one is family satisfaction because it is easily shared. You can eat it with many other food easily. The second reason is that it's something that is very nutritious. So they say that there is salt in cassava leaves. That's the second reason why they eat it, and also because of the background from the ancient time. They consumed, like our ancestors, they consumed cassava leaves. So they also keep doing it to conserve or to conserve their culture. And also they eat cassava leaves because it's low cost. Cassava leaves, like, they are not that expensive. They are grown in Rwanda, so they are low cost. That's why they also like eating it, and it is like very good for kids. Yeah.
Yes, that's great.
I think I'm like done with my field,
Yes,
with
you are
my field
done.
research.
Yes.
So we are going to continue to other parts to make sure that we are. So because you know that we'll be writing, we have another last part to talk about our with the time to write the final report.
Final report.
So we need to make sure we're using our time appropriately. So right now, I'd like to tell Jean-Didier to tell us about his menu, or his food menu, the food menu that he worked on. So we didn't work only on Rwandan traditional food,
Yes.
but we also worked on international or outside or foreign culture. So tell us about your food menu that you worked on.
Thank you, Didier and Patrick. I'm very happy to share with you what I have seen my menu with other cultural stuff. I'm going to talk about Pennsylvania and Hindu.
Yeah.
Yes, Hindu culture. So this is the food that I learned culture of food there in Pennsylvania. So let me first start by Pennsylvania to make sure I go with consistency in an appropriate way. In Pennsylvania, it is a little bit different to what we have seen here in Rwanda. In Pennsylvania, there was a man called Weber. He is the one who is an anthropologist who did the research to know how food are being, how some food are valued there, what's their ritual, yes, things like that. What I discovered in my menu, I found that in Pennsylvania there were like to separate a group of people. There were wealthy people and poorest people. Yes, and those people, they had to eat different kind of food according to how they were able, and they are willing and able to buy kind of product in Pennsylvania. Wealthy people were likely to eat meat. Yes, they were able to eat meat and they really liked meat, but poor people were not able to afford that, and that was a problem. In Pennsylvania, they cultivated potatoes. That was food that existed there in Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania, there were meat, potatoes, and other products that were being produced in their country. They didn't really go out to find the other product. No, they only used the product that you can see in Pennsylvania. Once people noticed that they are not able to get meat that they want, they used different methods to found their own food that they are happy with. They used to take those potatoes, and those potatoes, they transformed these potatoes into gumbis. You know,
Gumbis.
gumbis. Yes, it's called the gumbis. When gumbis was a good food, yeah, it was ready food. Yeah, it was ready food. And if you see it on like a picture, you feel like, oh, I want to eat, I want to taste this. It is a food that is very sweety. Yes. And you can see how they were very creative. They used what they see in their country to create other food that everyone is saying about onogumbis. It was prepared from potatoes that were produced in Pennsylvania. They use that gumbis. They take that gumbis like their food, that they are happy with. They were happy to eat that gumbis. And the way they used to eat that gumbis is it is a way that I like it very much. They didn't use plate to eat the gumbis. No, only they dig a hole and they take that gumbis, they pour in that hole, and people have had to sit around that hole that they dig, and once they sit around that they start eating, and it was like it was something that was very fun for everybody there, uh, because they eat by discussing how is their creativity, how is everything, and they were very. It was very fun. This is something that I have noticed. Uh, I learned from that. I learned that they value unity first. They value unity as they were the problem to find their own food, their food that can help them to be sufficient, to feel sufficient with what they eat. Decided to have to make a gumbis. It's something interesting, and the way that they sit together while when they in the time they are going to eat, they sit together and they start discussing by eating with fun. This is something also showed me that they really value unity. Another thing I learned is that they really value creativity. They really value creativity. They created things from their natural resources. They didn't bring other stuffs like of food out from their country. They only used natural resources to create a product. This is what I learned. So to be quick, maybe we ask a question after. So let me jump to Hindu. Hindu.
Yeah, that's not.
Interesting answer. And feel free to ask me questions in the time I'm explaining. Uh, in Hindu, I'm going to base on Hindu wedding ceremony because I did this research in many. I did this many based on what happened in wedding ceremony there in Hindu. In Hindu wedding ceremony, what they do, the groom and bride, they prepare the ceremony, groom's family and bride family, they prepare the ceremony, and once the ceremony is over prepared, is well prepared, they come together, and the family of bride came to receive or to welcome the family of groom. And once this is coming, there were curtain that was between the groom and bride, and that curtain, because of that curtain, no one can see each other. This was something which is very interesting because at the time when they removed that curtain, it was very emotional to everybody. Even if they may know each other between bride and groom, it was very emotional. Let me talk about food ritual during that ceremony, during that wedding ceremony. There were food called coconut. The coconut was a kind of a divine that bride should take in her hand, and his father also take other hand, and if they do that, they go to the groom, and they hand that groom or that kind of coconut, and this was showing that the wedding is blessed. Yeah, it has the meaning that the wedding was blessed, showing that they were coming to the wedding, and the wedding is going to be where nothing bad is going to be happening in the wedding. There were also another thing called part of cumin. past of cumin. On the past of cumin, it was seed crushed together. There were many seed crushed together, and those seeds they put in also sugar, and it became very sweet. And if you taste that, it was very sweet, very and very sweet. Um, that also it was food that shows the brightness and the sweetness. It shows, it means brightness and sweetness of life. It was a kind showing that gloom and blight are going to live in better life. They will no longer suffer. They will be tackling other things, but they will always be happy. Uh, Another thing that happened in their traditional is that in Hindu they took rice. While the ceremony was there, they took rice, and that rice they throw everyone that on the head of everyone. They took rice and they throw that rice to everyone among bride and groom. And the one who throw much rice on other is going to dominate. Yes. It means if bride throw throw much rice on the groom, bride is going to dominate in the family. Yeah, that's true. So even if there was like that, the Hindu wedding ceremony, it was very emotional and spiritual. It shows that they really value their culture, and they base on what they have to make them happy. They value happiness always. This is what I discovered in Hindu culture. Thank you very much. We have problems and questions. Please, you are welcome. Yes.
Okay. Let me start by asking you if those traditions and those rituals still exist now or not.
In my research, I found that these rituals are still existing. Yeah, they really exist. I'm not gonna be into too much in that, but till now, coconuts are there, and that kind of ceremony they used in between the bride and the groom, they also use that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's also good, but I have a question about Hindu. You have said that during the ceremony between man, groom, and brides, they put each other on rice, and I think, for example, like in our culture, if there is a wedding ceremony, a man is going to be considered as the leader of the home.
Yes.
For example, if it's the woman during the ceremony put much rice more than the man, is she who is going to be the leader of the home?
Yes, I think it is difficult to understand here as Rwanda because we know that here in Rwanda, men always dominate the family. So, but in Hindu, according to my research, I found that the one who much lies to other is going to dominate the family. This is a role. This is how it has to be. It's in their culture.
It's so very interesting, you know.
How is that much rice measured? Like they bring a basket and you take rice and you throw on the bride or the groom. So how that?
So I'm not sure about the measure, how they measure to know that this one much less than other, but the way they took much and they flow up to someone. Once they go ahead and they see that there are much rice, and someone may become lazy or become tired to continue to flow rice to other. So this is where they found this one is dominating. So he's going to dominate the family completely, absolutely. Yes.
That's why.
Thank you. So thank you very much for asking me questions. I think you have got something, and you also will remind me to continue to do further research to know really how they are going. They also being used up to date. So thank you very much. Yeah. So let me talk to Patrick.
giving me this time, and I'm very, very thankful to you for your job, for doing your research. Me too, have done another kind of research on other kinds of culture, like I'm going to talk with you about the getting football game and portrait. So let me first begin with portrait. And portrait is another kind of culture where people use to participate during this portrait as ritual. The people from one tribe, they invite their friends from other tribes and they come together, they sharing food, and the most food that were used during that time was what they call seal meat and fishes, because Portrait is located in the north pole of our world. The people are using to live from hunting and from fishing. It means they eat their own food. They don't go for outside to search another kind of food. But in portrait also, we have another type which we call feasting. Feasting also, it's like portrait.
You know, fasting, you think, you say fasting?
Yeah, it's feasting.
Yes.
That's also is like where the people come together. Also, they share food. But the only difference between feasting and portrait is during feasting, people invite their neighbors only. They didn't invite the people from far or from other tribes to come to share their food together. Even nowadays, portraits keep going on, but in different way. Because in this day, it's quite much money most of the family use to participate in feasting more than to go in the portrait. Also, portrait was associated with like some values. They respect their guests. For example, the honor guest, who the honor guest, or like a guest who is a principal during that celebration or that ceremony, was also giving an extra gift like money and other like basket and other material which have values in their families. It's like what I got from portrait. Told you that I'm not going to share with you one culture. I've also done on the getting football game. Firstly, you understand to what tailgating in the football game. It means there is a relationship between them. Then tailgating was an event that takes place in Americans. And as we know, there is football in America that we call soccer.
Yes, soccer game.
Yeah, soccer game. That is that can differentiate American culture with other culture, because even in other society they have football, but it's not American football.
Yes.
And then tailgating was an event that took place before the starting or the beginning of winter. The people used to get out of their house and they come out and they camp and they share their household, cooking together, they share food and they being happy. And most of the food that you use during tailgating is hot dogs, fishes, and there's many kind of food. But this event was associated with the ancient event that was taken in the American, that was taken in the festival when the American were sharing their harvests. Also, what the harvest of the crops that they got from their farming activities. Is nowadays also targeting to keep going on, and the American participate in this day, as I said before, they were starting with winter and they associated with this football game because it's the one which is make America unique. Means they have America, there are many cultures and different culture, but this one American football make them different. Then the American, they value the ancestors also, because also the ancestors have said they participate in the festival during the starting of winter. The American want to associate what they did before and the nowadays activity by associating on football game.
Yes.
I think it's all about targeting. But if you want to know more, you might ask question or give comment. All are allowed for you.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question, because I got like it. I was interested in what you were talking about, the time getting. So the same question to what I asked the Shandeji, is it still being done today, the tailgating, because I know that the American football still exists, but do they still do the tailgating in these days or not?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
But I've done research about that also. Tailgating even nowadays is going on, but in different way, like how it was done before. About the same way, also usually if the winter is going to be coming, all America, most of the America, not all, they meet before in the street, before the states, and by celebrating that ceremony, they eat together those hot dog, fishes, and they being happy. It means even now the getting is keep going on.
So, okay, my question is a little bit the same with what Didier asked. Is delegating game was taken like a which on America?
That's a great question, but as I told to you, if I say that it's keep going on, it means a ritual is something which is repetitive. And
Yes.
as we know, as I told you, when the winter is coming on or at the beginning of winter, they meet to celebrate. It means they take it as ritual. It's repetitive even now.
Yes.
Yeah. But the question is yes, it's ritual in America.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick. Well, I found also that how they were sharing those kind of food during that time, and they share harvest. There's something like a connection. Yeah, with what I have also find that they share like gambis together. They sit around and they discuss with happiness. It means when I found something like happiness when they were sharing that kind of food, and in my article also I found that they were something like happiness. So this is something like similarity.
Yeah, we see right about when we are comparing our food menus. Thank you also for being interested in my the food menu that I did on, but we still have our friend Didier. Also, so Didier, it's your time to talk with us what you have done.
Thank you, Patrick, for giving me this opportunity to speak about what I learned about and what I did research on. So, I worked on two cultures, Japanese rice and Hawaiian poi. Allow me to start with the Hawaiian poi.
Yes.
Hawaiian poi is made of taro roots, and it is consumed in Hawaiian islands. So this Hawaiian poi made many people to come to live to the island, because that's what they ate on the island, and to survive it was the main food there. It is related to spiritual significance, because they say that there is like their gods, and like what they worshipped before was related to that food, because it was for ancestors.
Yes.
And after that, I realized that Hawaiians, they care about cleanliness. So because when to prepare this food, you needed to be clean. So like girls who are used to prepare this food, if they have hairs, they are told to tie their hairs in the back here, so that nothing can go in poi. So they value cleanliness. They also value cleanliness in a way that if you have long nails, you are asked to cut your nails before you work on the poi. So another thing that I find that they value is that they value their tradition. This is because they still consume it now, and they're even calling people to come back to the island to keep consuming their poi and continue in the way of their tradition, not leaving the island and go to the other parts of the country. So they still value their culture and their tradition. Also, I find that it was very important, because when people started studying in schools, they used to eat Hawaiian poi in schools, but a time came and there was a shortage, so they were required to eat potatoes, and there was not a good mood in schools because poi was not available for students to eat. So poi also has rituals associated to it. As I said, cleanliness and making sure that you are good. So if not everyone could come and crush poi. So I think that's all about the Hawaiian poi. And I'm going to turn back to the Japanese rice. So Japanese rice, yeah. So Japanese rice is rice is very important in Japanese culture. You can ask yourself how they value rice.
Yes.
So in Japan, rice is was and is still the most important food for Japanese. This is because rice is like from the beginning was tied to the tradition. Like they say, the king, the people gave tribes to the king in forms of rice, and also the king had blessed rice. See why they still value it. The king that I read about, I don't remember the name well, but that king had blessed the rice, and now people respect it because the king has blessed it. And also you see that it is tied to the Japanese culture. And rice, you cannot talk about food in Japan without talking about rice. Like rice envelope or like is an envelope of food in Japan. It is very very important for them. So Japanese, they have this ethnocentrism. They don't like people to, like, they see that their rice is more like is the great rice in the world.
Yes.
Because like when they see like Americans putting soy sauce on their rice, they feel frustrated and they feel not happy because they thought that they are abusing or not using rice appropriately. So they see that it's not good.
Yes.
That's something on. And they like when they're eating rice, they are talking about the flavor, the taste of their rice and how it is good. So that's what's happening for the Japanese rice.
Yes.
Yeah, Japanese, they value rice and they value collaboration because rice was cultivated commonly with many people together. They cultivated rice and shared it in different families according to the number of the families, the number of kids that were in the family. And also I learned that in Japan they value respect. So by cultivating together, that's where the respect came from. You could not come and harvest a rice for which you did not cultivate. So they respect each other. Yeah. And there are many things to talk about the Japanese rice, and they eat it in many forms. Like they can eat it using chopsticks. They can, like, there are some other times when they have rice in bowls, like the different forms of rice. So they eat it in many things. And even rice have came to like the language, Japanese language itself. Like there's a word called gohan. So it means, so it's envelope. So like due to the value of the rice, it came that everything about food you can easily relate it to rice. So I think that's all about Japanese rice and Hawaiian poi. So if you have any question, you can ask me, or have any comments or concern, feel free to ask me.
Yeah, that is interesting as to food that you are talking about. And between those two, I have a question about Japanese. You have said that how Japanese are respecting or value the rice.
Yes.
But is there any ritual that the Japanese associated with rice or use rice during that event?
Yeah, most of the time, there's like the ritual associated to this is that you are not allowed to dump sauce, to put sauce on it. So it's not acceptable. So they used to eat it as it is white, and they don't put anything to the sauce. They eat it as being white rice. So in different ceremonies they eat rice. Rice is very, because it's like envelope, or it's an envelope of food in Japan. You cannot talk of food without having rice. You cannot have a ceremony without having rice.
Yes.
So everything is having rice in
The kind
it.
of food must be rice must be included in. Yes. Okay, that's good.
Okay, so like Patrick said, meat is very interesting. Interesting. But I have a question. My question one is, where does that type of ethnocentrism in Japan came from?
So
Yes.
you see, most of the time, many people think that they are best, their culture is best.
Yes.
So that's why, so Japanese also, when they see people dumping sauce on the rice, they feel not happy. So we should eat rice as this white. So there's no reason why. So these people they we don't have the same culture. It's not good. So it's like in Rwanda, you can say wearing short skirts. It's not good in Rwandan culture. But in America, they say it's okay. You can do it.
Okay,
So
sorry.
same thing.
Yeah, I think they need it anthropology. They need anthropologists to do. Okay. Yes. To educate them.
But it's how culture is.
Mhm.
Every culture try to find that is the best before
No,
others.
but also we have to be flexible sometimes and to adapt to other cultures.
Yeah.
Right?
So as I said, the emperor came to find it here.
Mhm.
So the emperor that blessed the rice was Emperor Akihito. Akihito blessed the rice, and you see, people were giving tribute to the king. That showed that they valued it. Something that you're giving to the king, it's something very important. You cannot take something that you don't value and give it to the king, because the king is valuable. He's like very on the top of the country, the most respected. So rice also was respected in that context, and like it's still even important in Japan today, because you know Japan is the number one producer of rice in the world.
Yes.
If I guess, yeah. I think that's all. If there's no other question, we can continue to another session.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you guys for sharing out. So this is time to discuss about, or to summarize our findings by trying to pull out some commonalities and differences of what we did. So we combine it with the field log and combining it with the menu that we worked on, or the research that we did on outside cultures. So I think we should start with commonalities, things that they have in common. Yeah.
Thank you, Didier, for coming to this session, and I think this is the best one, because as we did, everyone shared with us what he did, and it was good. But for me, I have discovered that in every culture, they want to use, during their production of food, they want to use their local product. They didn't want to go out of their country to search for and extract products to use during their production of their food. That is one commonality that I discovered. And there is a difference that I found. The, 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 the difference which are between them, every culture evaluates different food. For example, in Japan they evaluate rice, but in Rwanda they evaluate sagam or chakara. It means there are differences in their food that they evaluate. Maybe we may hear from others.
Okay, let's continue by connecting my idea, my finding to the rest one talking about. Yes, they very different kinds of food. Another things related to that is that they also, every country, every culture has some food that they vary, that they have a ritual for. So this is something also we may look on. It is like the similarity. In Pennsylvania, I found that there is a ritual food that's taken as a ritual in their country, and you have seen like in Hindu and in everywhere. And in my field research also, and in your field research, where I found the Sombe and Mutakarara. So you see, they have rituals. And also another thing I can say is that every food has some kind of food have ritual. We don't have same ritual. We don't have same ritual. We may have here rice, but the way we use rice here is different to the way rice is used in Japan.
Okay, let me to I found some commonalities and some differences in our work. So ethnocentrism was realized in what we did. So most of the cultures, like they see that they are the best they have the best culture, most people, and they see that their culture is, like, they don't think as anthropologists, they think like their culture is good and best, and they don't even want to see people doing bad things or talking bad things about their culture. It's something that I found as a commonality for every culture. And also something in common, they all value their tradition. you find people saying, we're doing this because of our ancestors. So yeah, that's what you find it in Poi, in Japan, in Pennsylvania, in many different parts. So it's something very common. But for the differences also, we in the field research we did, so as you said, the rituals associated to different things are different. So rituals associated to food in Japan is different from rituals associated to food in And you see that another difference in Rwanda we can have much emphasis on isombe or cassava leaves and having it as good food, and we value it. But in Japan they don't even take care of it, or they don't even eat it. So it's a difference.
So I think we can talk more about there are many differences. So I think we can we jump to another part?
Yes.
So let's continue to see. I think we are done with this part. It was very interesting, and I'm really very happy to share with you and to receive what you have done. Now I'm getting feedback with your findings. This is very good. And so let's talk to what we are going to plan to do our final reports.
We need to write a final report about what we did. So what do you think we can do to make sure we have the final report?
Yeah, that's a great idea, or it's a good thing that you have to do, because even if we are discussing, but the more you write, it's more important than speak, because it's and I think maybe we may plan like tomorrow we may meet again also at the same place and try to figure out how we can combine our ideas. Even if one has his own drafts, maybe we may combine together and then discuss how to figure out the final report. If you are available tomorrow, it's my best time to be on time.
You are available tomorrow?
Okay, so I think I want to be specific. We can meet tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.
8 a.m.
Yes.
I think I will be available.
8 a.m. Let me think about it, but I don't know if my schedule is going to match with that. But tomorrow is Sunday.
Yes, so tomorrow is Sunday.
Oh, Sunday I'm available. I'm available Sunday 8 a.m. I thought it's tomorrow, but I'm available Sunday, so we can plan doing that at that time, and maybe we're going to have a good time working on our final report.
Yes, I think if we are going at 8 a.m., yes, we meet at Paris house. Okay. Yes.
I have something. So, how will our final report look like? So he said that we need to combine it, but we need to make sure we have the things, the organization in mind of what we'll be having it. So I have an idea of having it like, we start by having the field log. Like I write my field log, then arranging it in different field log, like your field log, my field log, and your field log, put it together, like the research we did on Rwandan food, and also have the part of these cultures we worked on from Japan, from whatever, on the other side, then have the conclusion of what, and have another part where we talk about the commonalities, the big differences that we had in our research and cultures.
Yeah, that's good. But Didier, remember, when we are writing a report, can someone read without knowing some anthropological term? We have first to begin with anthropological term in order to help our reader to be engaged in our report, and then we continue with how we organize that figure. I think that's my good.
Okay, so I think you answered those are true, but in addition, I want to add that, can we start by introductions?
Yeah.
And continue with our field research, and okay, as you said, anthropological term, and after anthropological term, our field research and our menu, but and then we write commonality, and after commonalities and the differences, we can have something like a conclusion.
Okay. That's a great idea that we have combined all together, and I think we can now talk about every task. A task of everybody. So in order to complete that activity that we are planning to accomplish tomorrow. So Jean-Didier, may you tell us what we are going to do tomorrow?
I think we can start. So I think it will be okay if everyone do work on. We can try to see on his menu and quick research to make some editing and revising to see if the idea is very connected. And tomorrow we can come prepared. And yes, I think that's the first things we can do.
Yeah.
Usually to be prepared for the next session.
I think what you say is very important and great, but we need to include that we need to, like, after working on your individual parts and particularly individual parts, we need to come together and have like an overall editing of our work to make sure that we're not having grammatical errors in the reports, to make sure it's proper and appropriate. Yeah.
And I think maybe, as I said, task. Everyone has to be specific of what he's going to do. Okay, thank you for your being here on time, and I think the next appointment is